What's happening, all you guys out there? Olizandri here, and girls as well, any girls as well. I'll say hi to you as well. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Joey? Anyway, random opening. When can I ever do a normal opening? I will never know. This video was originally scheduled to go out on the 27th of April, which was, of course, my 1 year anniversary on YouTube. I've been doing this whole business for a year now, 150 videos plus. Really good times, really good times. But yeah, this video is late because, oh, how the fates conspire against you. First of all, roadworks outside the front of my house meant the house was shaking for 2 days straight, where they stripped the roads and replaced the tarmac, which made it impossible to do a commentary. And then my PC was also having an absolute fit. In terms of its mouse usage, it was turning itself off, and the only way to get it to turn back on again was to restart the PC, which made the editing process take a very, very long time. Plus, of course, I was losing editing work whenever I had to, like, hold down the power button and switch off the PC. So that was very, very irritating. But it's here, it's late, but it's here, and it's a double gameplay as well. Very long video, but lots of different kinds of action, really. Just to, you know, kind of like appease you after I've been putting out March Madness type videos, because, of course, that took the focus off my channel completely. But I'm going to start this video with what I promised you guys, which was, it's a question that's been asked before on comments and in private messages. And I'm very pride-filled about it as well, the subject as a whole, even though it is extremely nerdy. Oh my god, it's nerdy. But it's kind of like half girlfriend story, half this, half that, and it's like the evolution of a name that I actually respond to more than my real birth name now, for reasons that I will go into. But yeah, it's the origin of the name Olizandri, as a question that's been asked me, and of course many YouTube commentators have names built around odd premises, like Cnanis, for example. He was just trying to enter a gamer tag, something involving bananas, and he ended up being suggested by Xbox Live the name Cnanis, and that's how he got his name. There's like nothing really deep and personal into that. I've got a friend who lives here, in fact, who has the exact same kind of like naming premise. He was originally Sergeant Al Capone, and then he wanted to change his name, and Xbox Live suggested Affluent Knave, and he thought, well, that's a kind of like a nice mixture of words there, and he went for that. And I've just given out his gamer tag, which is probably not a great idea. But yeah, everyone has a different kind of like naming premise. There's a lot of people who choose their names or gamer tags based on allegiance to certain things, like Optic fanboys. Or there's like people that choose their names out of like 2 words to do with FPSs. That's why we end up with all those leaked snipes and all those game tags. But my name was an internet moniker that was developed for a reason, and it was developed for love. Basically, around the age of 16, I had my first serious relationship, and I don't really want to make this a girlfriend commentary because it's really odd. And of course, before 16, any relationship that may have lasted X amount of months, X amount of years even, I would never even count, because it's not a proper relationship. I wouldn't count any relationship before I was 16 years old as being an actual relationship. It's just play, it's just a facade, you could call it. There are, of course, people that meet their sweethearts when they're really young and go on to marry them, and that's cool and all, but, you know, I don't even treat first love. I treat first love really odd, and this was my first love. She was, basically went to the nearby girls' school, and what happened was is that a month into our relationship, like, we're just getting to know each other and all that, and it's like my first serious relationship, her first serious relationship. It's at the age where things might happen and progress, if you know what I mean. And her dad lost his job at a toy shop. He was the manager of a toy shop within the city centre, so he needed to find alternative employment. And what he decided on was that he was going to, well, he and his family were going to run holiday homes down on the coast, down in Devon, I think it was, or Cornwall, one or the other. Very bottom of England, let's put it that way. So he moved the entire family down there, which is of course really bad for a relationship. It made it extremely long distance, so the only time I could see her was in between school holidays, and I used to take these train trips down there and meet her. So we needed like bonding elements online and through text and all that, and I used to text like a shitload right back then. I used to text endlessly, and nowadays I don't even use a phone at all. Barely. I have a phone, I just choose not to use it because it's just so antisocial, I feel, which is a really odd thing to say about phones, but whatever. I'm going into completely ramble mode now, aren't I? But she was part of an online story writing forum based around Final Fantasy, and this is where the nerd really comes in. She was a really big Final Fantasy fan, and I wanted to kind of like get in on that, so I had to like, well, of course, because I wanted to be closer to the girl I was with, but the distance kind of prohibited that. So I had to make like this kind of like backing story about who I am, and I had to make a character. I didn't really intend to write stories for it, but I had to write one to kind of join it, which is not my forte at all. I don't do writing stories. So basically I had to make a character which wasn't called Olizandri, in fact, and a country where it came from, which is where the name Olizandri derives from. Now, the character I made was called Vix Isolde. That is well, it's like something from Final Fantasy and something from Star Wars. Isolde, this is really nerdy because I was a big Star Wars fan back then. Isolde was a royal family in the Star Wars extended universe, and Vix was the American name for one of like 2 recurring characters in the Final Fantasy series. They wouldn't be main characters or anything. Sometimes they'd be like characters involved with the party. Sometimes they'd be characters that were bad guys. But in England, in Europe, they were called Wedge and Biggs. One of them was called Vix over in America, so I named it after that. Of course, Wedge and Biggs were the Star Wars pilots, of course, in the trench run for the original Star Wars. But yeah, nerd. So I made the country based on the premise of the country Alexandria, which is a common fantasy premise. It's a common fantasy town, and so basically I was looking for a play on that, and I ended up with Olizandria, which actually became partially my name later on in life, which is, of course, it was just a feminized version of Olizandri as far as I'm concerned. So I was using it for female World of Warcraft characters, where of course my male World of Warcraft characters were Olizandri. So basically that relationship kind of like tailed on, petered out. We kind of grew apart after a year, after doing, the big thing together. We were like each other's first and all that, and that was all great. First love is just this absolutely crazy love. If you want me to talk about that sometime, I will. I just think that first loves are wrong. They're wrong. They're rose-tinted glasses. And when you get that first love out of your way, you can be a balanced human being again. And I say that knowing that my girlfriend currently, my fiancée, I am her first love. I've had several partners, but she's only ever had one, and that's been me. And we've been together for a very long time. I always picked up girls young, because that's what guys do. So that makes me sound really, really creepy. I'm 25 now, so I'm not paedophile or anything. She's 23 or 24, one or the other. I don't know, because I'm a great boyfriend, me. I'm an absolutely great boyfriend. So I basically took the name as, well, a race name for a online text-based game called Imperial Conflict, where you take over planets, you take over galaxies. And it was really built around politics and that. So I became a leader of a team, and they had teams of 20. I became the leader of a team based on the fact that I could basically make a good plan that basically ensured a really good start for the team. In fact, such a good start that we could easily win the entire thing, which spanned months and months. We could easily win it just based on those first week, really. So I was really good at the planning and the politics as well, playing off people against each other, playing other teams off against other teams, and making sure that my team never gets in the crossfire, grows safely, and then ends up as this stupidly dominant power. I'm very good at manipulating people. That's probably not a very nice thing to say about my character, but it started off as the race name of that, and then later on it kind of became like the known thing I was known for. So like you could have different names for your person, but I'd always keep the same race name. So of course people began to know me as my race name, which was of course Olizandrians, because that makes sense. The whole premise of if you're from Olizandria, you be an Olizandrian, just like if you're English, you're an Englishman. I think that's not making much sense. So basically I made the transition switch from Olizandria, the race name, to my forefront name. And so this name's actually been with me since I was about 16, 17. Like 9-10 years of just Olizandri. And the thing that made it so special to me, the thing that I actually care about it so much, even though it was just built from gaming or from things like that, and I know it originally was made for love and all that jazz, the thing that actually makes it special to me is I doubt anyone else can say this about their name. It was an originally created word that doesn't involve stuff like Z's or multiple numbers, multiple letters. It's an actual like word that it has a good structure for a word, like the right vowels, consonants, all that jazz, that I could search up on Google at that point in time when I made the switch, and the only entry that came up was about me. So you could, like, you Google a word, you Google a name, and you come up with thousands of entry. When I made that name, boom, absolutely 100% unique word. Absolutely. I mean, now there's 22,300 entries on it. After I played World of Warcraft for a bit, there were copycat people that would make the same class as me, because I was okay kind of known because I was a paladin with a legendary weapon, and I was in a top guild, and I had ridiculous gear during the early stint of World of Warcraft. Absolutely ridiculous gear. So people would kind of like copycat on me. So my name kind of like got used by other people and kind of taken by other people. But for years, Olizandri belonged to me and me alone. If you search Olizandri on Google, it's wall-to-wall me. You don't get anyone else. I don't think you do anymore. It's just like page, and everything about Olizandri refers to me. And I think that's really, really special. I mean, not many people can say that. I mean, Hutch will get like Starsky and Hutch. C-Nanas might get him, probably. C-Nanas would probably get him all the way just because of how popular it is. But I'm not popular enough to just own the name, but I have Olizandri wall to wall, and I think that's the origin of my name. So thank you guys for listening. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I will talk to you in the comments. Cheers!